Hello, guys. Welcome back to my show, Get Real with Jasmin. If this is your first time here, this is a podcast about self love, personal growth, and just whatever going on with my life. So, as usual, I want to share a story that happens to me lately during a job interview. I was having a great chat with the manager. We're talking about job qualifications, job requirements. It was very fun chat. And then as we were heading toward the end of the interview, there was a guy with a gray hair. He just walked into the room. And I just assumed this guy's the head of the department or the boss because, first of all, he's old. And second of all, I think I overheard the managers calling someone over the phone and asking him to go to the interview. So this guy just walked into the meeting room. He did not say anything and he just sat down. And then after I finished the conversation with the manager turned to this guy and said, do you have any questions for her? And which is me. And then this guy just looked me dead in the eye. I'm not joking. He looked dead to me in the eye and just said, why should we hire you? And then I was a little bit surprised because he looked so serious. But the thing is, this is really common questions for an interview. So I just go ahead and gave him the first reason and then the second reason. Well, but then he wasn't happy about the second reason that I gave him. So he asked me to elaborate it more. And as I was explaining more about my second reason, he just cut me off and said, I do not get your point. All I can hear is blah, blah, blah. That's literally what he said. And at this point, I was very pissed already. I did not feel respect at all. And then he just anyways, just give me the third reason to hire you. And then I said, I am very ambitious and I do not run away from things. And then he cut me off again and said, no, you just run away from explaining the second reason. And then at this point, I was like, that's it. I looked him dead in the eye and I said, no, I did not run away from your questions. I tried my best to explain it. You just didn't like it. And then he just shut up. And the interview just kind of finished there. And when I was on my way home and I was thinking about all of this again, and I calmed down a bit, and I was actually impressed with myself because I defended myself so many times in that interview whenever I was feeling misunderstood, whenever I feel like his assumptions about me is not right. And that would never happen before. I always just nod along in the interview. So when I was thinking about this whole process again, I was thinking what actually causes this shift of my behavior in job interview. And I think it's because I wasn't desperate at all. And that's a topic that we're going to talk about today. How to stop being desperate. Or more accurately, are you actually in a desperate situation? Now, I want you to think about the times in your life where you feel like you are in a desperate situation. Or maybe it's now. Are you desperate for someone? Are you desperate for something? It could be like a person, a job, or money, whatever. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper. Why are you desperate in this situation? Take myself as example. In the past, I was always feeling so nervous about job interview, especially if it's a top 8 company that I'm interviewing for. I would be so desperate for that job. I do not care. I will reshape my whole personality. I will kiss ass all the way up to the management. I do not care. Well, that's just joking. I do not kiss ass, okay? But if you look deep enough into this desperation, you'll find out that the root causes of your desperation is fear. Yeah, I remember the first time I read this theory on a book. I do not believe it. I was very surprised and I was in denial because I don't consider myself as a coward. So I was like, fuck you. I'm not scared. I just really want this job. Well, there's a difference between wanting something and being desperate for something. When you want something, say you want a car, if you didn't get that car, you'll probably just be sad and then you'll move on. But when you're desperate for that thing, when you're desperate for that car, if you didn't get that car, you probably feel devastated. See, the main difference here is that when you are desperate for something, the consequence that you imagine if you didn't get that thing is devastating. It's like you feel like there's no other options out of this. You just need this thing to work. Alright, guys, so let's go back to my job interview example again. What was I scared of? I was scared that I would not find a better job. I was scared that if I mess this up, I would not find another job opportunity again. That's my fear, guys. Sounds familiar, huh? I'll give you another example here. Let's say this imaginary lady who is so desperate to lose weight that she start going on extreme diet or even start like taking pills. And you can argue that, oh, maybe she just really wants to lose weight. Well, if that's the case, you wouldn't sacrifice your own health just to achieve that goal. So, what is she scared of, guys? Well, she's probably just scared of other people's judgment. In her head, she's probably thinking like, if she goes out and people will say she's fat, people will say like she has gained weight or something like that. And I'm not even saying like if this actually happened. This is probably all it's just in her head. She probably imagined this in her head. So now we know she's just scared of other people's judgment. The right questions to ask her is, why are you so scared of other people's opinion? It's probably the lack of self-love or confidence. So you're letting other people to just define you instead of letting you define yourself. Because say if other people actually fat shame you or judge your body, you will have the confidence to tell them like, well, fuck off, I love my body. You wouldn't feel the need to change yourself, let alone feeling desperate for weight loss. So it's all about recognizing your own capabilities and self-worth, which is definitely a topic that I would like to discuss more about for the other day. But now if you see the right questions to ask here, you will see that what needs to be worked on here is not the body, it's a mindset. And same with my job interview example. I do not trust myself. I do not have enough confidence to think that I will have another job opportunity again. So feel free to pause this video or podcast for a bit and to reflect your own desperate moment. And try to analyze your emotions, seeing like what is the exact thing that you are scared of. Be honest with yourself. You are seeking an easy way out by being desperate, because you don't need to deal with the insecurity that is deep inside you. So just based on those experiences, I think it's pretty clear that I was not at all in a desperate situation. I do not just need that one particular job, and that lady does not need to lose weight. It's our mindset that makes us think that we are desperate. And chances are, if you look at your past experiences, you're probably not at all in a desperate situation. But because human brain is so powerful, when you are desperate, you are so fixated on something that your mind does not have space for any other thing. And because you're so desperate for these things to work, your mind is just gonna keep looking for proof and proof to back up your own theory. That's why you're thinking like, this job is so perfect, that husband is so perfect, that partner is so perfect, that body type is so perfect. One thing I noticed is that when people are being desperate, they are very easily manipulated. You know, people can sense that you are desperate for job, you're desperate for money, you're desperate for love. And bad people take advantage of that. But because you are so desperate, you just let people walk all over you. Like your partner keep cheating on you, your relationship becomes more and more abusive, and your employer just keep giving you empty promises. They let you overwork and never give you any credit. And here you are wondering why your relationship is always so toxic and so abusive, or you always have shitty jobs. Well, don't complain because you let them do this to you. You are the reason why. Well, but because you're so desperate, you just stop setting standards. You do not have boundaries. You're thinking like, oh, I'll never meet anybody as good as him, or I never found a job as good as this one. Well, stop it. Stop it. It's embarrassing. You are limiting yourself. Because by being desperate, you're basically telling yourself like, I do not worth any better than this person. I will not get anything better other than this. Why are you doing this to yourself? I'll share a story with you guys. So I cannot go into details, but a few months ago, I was publicly humiliated, basically. And I not only did not stand up for myself, I fake smile with the person that did this to me. And because I was feeling so desperate that I do not feel like I can do anything about it. And that person was never held accountable for whatever she's done to me. But because I gave her the power to, I do not have anybody to blame about this. I did not stand up for myself. And I still remember the feeling when I was crying all the way home. And I was feeling so cheap. And that is a shame that I will have to carry for a long, long time. And I remember I was telling this story to a friend over a phone. And then he was like, Jasmin, you do not have any respect for yourself. And he was literally like, I would have just stood up and just said, I'm done. Then he asked me, what is it that you are so desperate that you are willing to let others treat you like this? And I remember after hanging up the phone, I was still thinking this question is, why am I so desperate? And I do not know the answer. And that's what I'm saying. Desperation makes people do stupid things. Your brain does not think rationally when you're being desperate. And guess what? The thing that I was desperate for, I did not even get it at the end. But I was being humiliated. And I was perfectly fine right now. So ask yourself again, if you're feeling desperate right now, is it worth it to swallow your pride and give up the dignity for this thing or this person? Well, so I guess now that's actually talk about how do we stop feeling desperate. So I think now whenever I sense myself kind of falling into that desperation trap again, I will simply ask myself, are you really desperate? Is there really no any way out of this? What are you scared of? Seriously, just all these questions. Because I think by asking these questions, you're allowing your mind to rethink the whole situation again. You're thinking, are there any other options? Are there any other solutions? It kind of allows you to take a step back and reevaluate the situation all over again. Let's go back to the interview story in the beginning of the podcast. I remember the night before the interview, I wasn't feeling confident at all. I remember I was lying on the floor and feeling like I do not have energy, strength, or confidence in me to pull through that interview. And if I brought that mindset to the interview, his questions of why should we hire you would have crushed me. But when he was asking me that questions, actually what was inside my head is like, why should I choose your company, dickhead? Because that morning I simply asked myself, Jasmin, are you desperate? And I remind myself, no, I'm not desperate. There are hundreds and thousands of jobs waiting for me out there. Why should I be desperate? And seriously, sometimes all it took is just one question. And another thing that I started to practice is to trust the process and trust the universe. It's like I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And if I didn't get it, it's not meant to be. There's something better for me on the way, and I do not need to be desperate. So the reason why I want to do the episode for today is because I feel like we tend to underestimate ourselves in most of the situations. And it really hurt me when I look back and see myself allowing others to treat me with disrespect. And it also hurt me when I see the people I care about was settling for something less and allowing people to treat them like shit. And so if you're feeling very desperate right now, please look again. Please ask yourself again, are you really desperate? Because chances are you are not. Ask yourself, why are you so desperate for this to work? What are you scared of? Stop limiting yourself. Trust the process. Trust the universe. There is something out there better for you. You just can't see it right now. Sometimes all it took really is just a simple questions to reevaluate the whole situation again and challenge yourself for your own belief, and you will see the blind spot of your own theory. Again, guys, thank you so much for listening my podcast today. And as usual, pause this podcast, share it with your friends, leave a 5-star review, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Bye now!